Hi, I'm Stuart. Welcome to my channel or welcome back. Thanks for viewing my video. In this video I give my reading wrap up for the 2 weeks of 1/4/2026 through 1/17/2026. Because of other videos I wanted to release, I didn't do a weekly wrap up, so I figured might as well just do 2 weeks. In this video I talk about the book I completed in those 2 weeks. I talk about the 5 books I read part of those 2 weeks. I talk about the videos I released. I talk about my reading plans for the remainder of the month. I talk about a crochet project I work on. I talk about the music I listen to, and I talk about some other things going on in my life too. As I mentioned in my last wrap up, I decided at the last minute to participate in Cozy-a-thon 4th through 11th. This was a reading event created and moderated by Steph at Fallen to Steph as part of her Patreon and Discord. There were 3 reading prompts in that readathon. One is for a person to use their library. I already had When We Were Monsters by Jennifer Niven, so I decided to read the book for the prompt. I did in fact complete the book. Unusual for me, I mostly just read this book that week and a day. I think it was 8 days that I read it. This is a dark academia book. It is set at a boarding school, prep school, prestigious one on the northeast of Massachusetts, right on the coast. Right at the beginning of the book, we learn 4 people who took part in that murder. Then it goes back in time. The setup is kind of similar to The Secret History by Donna Tartt, but the execution of it isn't. The book is told in alternating first-person POVs by Effie and Arlo. At the end of their sophomore year, they had a brief romance. They were each other's first time. I think you know what I mean, but I don't really want to say it on YouTube. And then Arlo left, and so obviously Effie was pretty upset by that. But it is now the beginning of their final semester senior year. Arlo has to come back to the school, and there is something called Jan term where 8 students that are, I guess, high achievers, students apply for, 8 of them are selected. They take part in, it's a better part of 3 weeks, at a mansion that is part of this, on the grounds of this private school. I won't really say anything more about the book now. I'll do a review for it soon. I'll just say that I really love Jennifer Niven's All the Bright Places. And this book maybe not quite as much, but close. Might not be 5-star, but it'd be 4.5, 4.75, pretty close. Really liked it. As I said, a dark academia book. Part 2 people trying to rekindle their romance. Part thriller. Part talking about what people will do to reach their goals. Just say better part of 3-week retreat at this mansion is going to be headlined by a famous author, actress, producer, and all of the 8 students that are selected are aspiring writers. So this was a book that really kept my interest. Wanted to keep reading it, didn't want to put it down. Mostly that week I concentrated on this book. There was 2 other books I started and read some of them for the readathon. There are 2 other books I started for the Cozy-a-thon Readathon. The first is for a prompt to read a book that I didn't read in 2025, but I want to read. And that book is Beautiful Brutal Bodies by Linda Chang. This is the second book by the author of Gorgeous Gruesome Faces. If you watch my best of 2025, my favorite books of 2025 video, you would have seen that this is one of my top 5. You would have seen that Gorgeous Gruesome Faces was one of my top 5. So I was really looking forward to this one. It's called Gorgeous Gruesome Faces #2, but it really doesn't have any connection that I've seen to that book so far. I'm about 70 pages in, and I'm loving it so far. The third book prompt in Cozy-a-thon was to read a book from a genre you haven't read. The genre I chose was politics. It's not true that I haven't ever read politics, but in the better part of 4 years since I started on Storygraph, I've only read 1 political book, so that's a pretty low amount. The book I decided to read is One Day Everyone Will Always Have Been Against This by Omar El Akkad. I am maybe about 50 pages in. It's not that big a book, as you can see. This is basically part memoir, and it's going to get into what he's seen on... He's an investigative reporter of some note, and it's going to talk about what he's seen. I believe it's going to talk about what he's seen as a reporter in Gaza. So, difficult read, but it's going to be interesting. And I think it's going to force me to confront some things maybe about myself that maybe some of the things I believed aren't as, I don't know, maybe not as helpful with things as I might have thought they would be. I was asked to take part in a buddy read by Rose at Rose-Dreamer on which would coven Discord, the Discord by Steph at Fallen to Steph, and the book she suggested we read is Mate by Ali Hazelwood. She had seen that I really loved Bride by Ali Hazelwood, and she did too. Mate is the sequel to Bride. If you watched my favorite books 25 video, you saw that Bride was my favorite book. Mate features 2 supporting characters from Bride. They come to the forefront, and the 2 main characters from Bride are supporting characters in Mate. One of the characters is the alpha of one of the were regions. The other is a half were, half human. And although I'm done with the book as I record this video, I had a little bit to read as of the end of the day on January 17th. So I will do a full review. I'll just say that I really enjoyed the book, and I'll talk more about it in the video. One book I started to read a little bit of was The End of the World as We Know It, New Tales of Stephen King's The Stand, edited by Christpher and Brian Keene. This was a book that was suggested to me by Pat at Book Chat with Pat on one of her Secret Santa videos, and I got the ebook of it at that time. And I was at an appointment, which I'll talk about later, and I didn't want to read one of the books I was well into, because when I'm like coming toward the latter part of a book, I kind of like to totally concentrate it, be at home, read it. So I just was reading a little bit of this book, and just the introductions, one of which was by King and part of the first short story. The interesting thing about King's introduction was one of the things he touched upon was that when this project was initially proposed to him, which is, I should have said, this project is for a bunch of writers to write stories that are based in the universe of King's The Stand. When it was initially proposed to him, he didn't want to do it because he felt tributes like this were just for like really old people and, you know, people that even had already passed away. So he wasn't really going to agree to it, but then he had some stuff occur that he realized. I guess we all have to come to the realization at some point that he was in fact old. So he did agree to the project, and he was really happy he did, because he was highly praiseworthy in the introduction of the stories. He mentioned some of them in particular. One I thought was of particular interest that he mentioned was that one of the writers, who I've heard of but not read, is Catriona Ward, wrote about how the animals dealt with the virulent flu, which started the events of the stand. Then on a recent night, I was having trouble sleeping and didn't want to read one of the books I currently was reading, because as I've said, I wanted to make sure when I come toward the end of a book that I'm not really tired or anything. So I had borrowed a bunch of books from the library not long ago. One of the books was Authority by Jeff Vandermeer. This is the second book in the Southern Reach trilogy, the sequel to Annihilation, which I read not too long ago and really liked. Kind of almost think there might be more than 3 books now, but this book does say trilogy. The first book talked about a region called Area X, which mysteriously appeared maybe 30 years before the events of the book, and a group was sent in to investigate, and things didn't go well. The Authority is about a group close to Area X, which is its role is to monitor it and send in investigatory crews to investigate it. And I'm about, I think, maybe 50 pages in, something like that. It's going to take me a little bit of time to warm to the main character. He's what's called a fixer. He is sent to this facility to try to, one, find out what happened on the previous expedition, and also maybe to get things in order, because it's clear that the government's not funding this place like they used to, and things are, in some cases, not in the greatest shape physically, and there's not that too many members on staff. So it is very intriguing. I do have problems with government organizations which kind of use people like pawns, and that's what this organization has done when they send in the investigation crews, but it is a very interesting book so far. Next, I want to talk about the videos I released in the 2 weeks that I'm covering in this video. The first was Reading Wrap-Up for the week ending 1/3/2026. The second was my review of Bride by Ali Hazelwood. The third is New Year, New Me book tag. The fourth is my 5 favorite books and my 4 most disappointing books of 2025. And the fifth is my 2025 Storygraph reading stats, my 2025 Storygraph reading stats, and my 2026 reading goals. As far as my reading plans for the remainder of the month, first they are to continue reading Authority, and One Day Everyone Will Always Have Been Against This, and Beautiful Brutal Bodies. And also before the end of the month, I want to start reading a couple of books that I'm reading for book clubs. I want to start reading The Vampire Armand by Anne Rice. I'm reading this book club as part of the Vampire Chronicles group. I'm reading this book as part of the Vampire Chronicles group, created and moderated by Elaine at Cobalt Dragon. I will put the other participants in the description of this video. And I also want to start reading the third Akatar book. I'm not quite sure the title, but I'm reading that book as part of the Akatar group, which I'm not sure that's actually the name of it, but it's another book club created and moderated by Elena Cobalt Dragon. So those books that I do want to start this month. So those are my priorities for reading. And one thing I should mention is I've mostly been, even though I mentioned I've read, 6 books in this 2-week period, mostly I've concentrated on When We Were Monsters and Mate. So I'm kind of reading more like like a normal person reads instead of flitting all over the place. There's something to be said for that. I can definitely see the value in doing that. Maybe it's partly because the 2 books I really loved and they totally held my interest, but I can definitely see the benefit of reading that way, even though I don't normally do that. I did have a small book haul, and I was going to do a separate video for that. But since I've mentioned 2 of the 3 books already in this video, I'm just going to, I'll show all 3 of them here. The first is One Day Everyone Will Always Have Been Against Us by Omar El Akkad. The second is Beautiful Brutal Bodies by Linda Chang. And the third is Flesh Eater, Houndstooth, book number 1 by Travis M. Riddle. This third book is a book that I learned about in a video by Melody at Melody's Book Nook. This is part of a trilogy, and she's really high in this trilogy, thinks quite highly of it, so I decided to get the first one and read it. Look forward to starting it. Thanks for your video, Melody. I haven't been crocheting as much as I would like. I am going to make more of an effort to get back to it. But I did make one thing, and that is this, I don't know if you can see very well, but this is a headband. It is the latest design I'm working on from Everyday Crochet, The Complete Beginner's Guide by June Gilbank. Could work as a headband, actually. Would work, you tie in the back. I think it came out pretty well. I did have trouble. The pattern of this is you do some stitches, you skip 2, and you do some more stitches, skip 2. And the skipping 2 and determining to put the next stitch was difficult for me. I wasn't certain I got it, but I think I probably got it pretty good because I think it came out pretty well. I did order some yarn for a project I want to do in the not too distant future. The next 1 or 2 may be woobles, but then once I get the yarn, I'll start working on this other project too. That's a next pattern from Everyday Crochet. As far as video games go, I continue to play Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time. I may play another game in the not too distant future. I think maybe I might be not maybe totally cutting out, but I might be cutting back in Fantasy Life 5 because I've probably played about 170 hours, and there is some repeatability at this point, so I think the length of time I was playing it, like it could have been like 2 hours, maybe even more some days. Might be a little too much, so I might be trying something else. I do have a couple other games on deck. And I did get a different type of video game that I have played a little. That is Sudoku. Years ago, I played Sudoku on the Nintendo handheld at the time. It was probably a Nintendo DS. And I also had a standalone electronic Sudoku player, and I did like playing it. My interest was rekindled when I saw that Steph at Fallen to Steph was playing Sudoku amongst other games such as crosswords. Although she was doing the, I think got a book or books of them. I decided I wanted an electronic version. I got it on Steam. I haven't played many Steam games. And I was just going to buy the Sudoku game, but it came, Steam suggested as part of a set. There was a bunch of others, including a chess game. So I got the whole set. So it was only about $35. So I played Sudoku the first time. I played Sudoku a few times, and I do like it. I like its numbers, which I like numbers, and there's seeing patterns, so I like doing that. So had a good amount of success. I'm playing on an easy level right now, but have had a good amount of success. And now the music I've been listening to. Main bands singer-musicians I've been listening to are Cat's Eye, Linkin Park, Blackpink, David Bowie, Pink Floyd, and the Jimi Dixon Group. I also listen to a playlist I have on Spotify of the tracks I listen to most in 2025. So there's a whole bunch of bands on there. I've talked about in the past the bands on that playlist. The reason I listen to David Bowie songs is that I saw on Instagram a ad for the season 5, for the Stranger Things season 5 soundtrack, and the song that they play on that is a Bowie song. I can't remember which one, but that got me interested in listening to Bowie. I haven't listened to Bowie in a long time. Listened to him a lot in the past. And I think it was Tidal that let me know that I might want to listen to the 50th anniversary edition of Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here. I knew it had been released, but I hadn't listened to it, so I listened to that. The Jimi Dixon Group was just a suggestion by, I think, Spotify. Thought I might like it. I did like them. They sound really good. So that's mainly what I listen to. Other than that, I went to the local mall, walked there. There is a new place opened in the food court. The mall isn't doing good, so I always like some new place. There are times when nothing is open in the food court and the only thing available is a couple of pretzel makers, which is good and all, but I do like variety. We've had a little bit of snow, freeze rain. No blockbusters, but there's some days where I just decide not to go out, so that's kind of impact my schedule, but did go out to eat a few times. One big thing I did the past couple of weeks is that I had my hair color changed. I had gotten the idea on the random Q&A video I did a while back, and Alice at Alice-WF4PU had asked me a question about my hair color, if I ever considered getting a different color, and that got me thinking about it. So at my most recent appointment, I did get it changed. It was teal. I had it changed to fire engine red. It was a quite laborious process because my hairdresser had to get the teal out. She was going to bleach it, but another hairdresser there suggested color remover, which it was not as possibly damaging to my hair. But it was a matter of putting some of that on, washing my hair, sitting on a hairdryer for a while, going back, doing it again. Eventually, the teal was out, and my hairdresser put the fire engine red in. More sitting on her hairdryer. Then she cut it. It was about a 2.5 hour time total. I really appreciate the effort she puts in to get things right. I've been going to her for decades. I believe 4 different businesses and 5 different locations, so we've become friends. But I really like how it came out. I received some compliments on it, including in the comments to my 2 previous videos. Thank you for those. Ideally, I would have liked to do this video before I released those 2 videos, but those were end of year videos, so I wanted to get them done and out. I'll definitely be keeping this color for a while. Who knows what I might change it to at some point, but I'm really happy with this color at this time. I was happy with the teal too. I just kind of wanted a little change. I do have one medical update, which I will, as I always do, put a put text in the bottom left of the screen saying medical update, so if anybody doesn't want to watch it, they don't have to. This is, besides my outro, the last thing I'm going to talk about, so you're not really missing anything else if you don't want the medical update. All the book content and other content is already done. When I had my last appointment with my primary care doctor, I don't think the term's used anymore, but I like it better than internal medicine specialist. He said that the test, of course there's a bunch of tests, blood tests everybody get, especially as you get older. One of them tests thyroid levels, and there was 2 things they measure, and one was a little high and one was a little low. So he didn't want to make a change then. He asked me to, he said that they would call me 3 months later, January, which they did not too long ago. Said they set up a blood test. So went and got it. My doctor's assistant called the next day. When my doctor calls, I know it's something serious. When the assistant calls, I know it's something not as serious. And she just said that the result was stable, and so he'd just keep me on the meds. I take a thyroid medication for low thyroid. Keep me on it, and then next year when I go, and then this fall when I go to my yearly physical, they would take another look at the results and see if there needs to be a change in medication. I would be interested in knowing how your recent reading is going. If you'd like to let me know, please add a comment. Also, I'm interested in what music you might be listening to. Always interested in that, or anything else you'd like to share. If you'd like to share something, please add a comment. If you can't think of anything else to comment, please add a alien emoji or a bunny emoji. I won't say why I'm choosing those. Or a wolf emoji. That one's for mate. For a werewolf. Or an emoji of your choice, of course. I hope you're having a wonderful reading week. I hope you're having a wonderful week in general. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Please subscribe. Please hit the bell to get notified when I upload future videos.